Okay, hello everyone. Bit late today, but no worries. We'll just run through today really quick session. I don't think it'll be that long. But welcome to week 12, everybody. Thank you for tuning in again, and those who are watching. Today we're going to do on how to have better conversations. I think you all got the topic way ahead last week when I did mention to you guys about what we're going to do this week. So just to start off this session, so as you can see, we can improve the way we talk when we have better this is something like, how can we or we can improve the way we talk when we have better conversations, right? So I think to just kickstart things off, you can put it on the chat if you want to answer, or if you don't want, or if you feel comfortable to share on the screen, you may just voice out. Otherwise, you can just type on the chat and I'll just read out your answers. Here's the discussion just before we go into our video. Firstly, how to ask great questions for better conversations. What are your take on asking great questions, or what are your tips of asking great questions? What do you think? I'll give you about 5 to 10 minutes. You can put it down on the chat. If you're ready, just write it on the chat, or if not, you can state it out. Unmute yourself and state it out.
I think for one, it will be probably like a sort of open-ended question, and I mean I can't think of one specifically, but something that is that will incite the other person to maybe share more, especially in terms of their experience and basically their experience and the details of like maybe how they overcome certain things, or how they how was the experience of a particular situation for them, something like that.
Okay, I guess one of the I think that's a great answer what you just said, Grace, and I think that relates to what you just answered. Actually, what you just basically how I put into basically you just answered one of the way, and basically I think what you meant is by asking like this kind of question, like I just asked you, how to ask great questions for better conversation. So this is where I ask a bit of open-ended, where I say how and share your thoughts. If you want to share it on the chat or voice it out, I think that's one way of also open-ended question. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes you just, I think one of the ways for open-ended questions is also like, how's your day been? Like, care to share your thoughts on what do you think, today's news or today's session is like. How do you feel about tonight's session, like we're doing right now? So I guess that's really good point that you pointed out, Grace. And Wendy, having genuine interest when asking a question. Yep. I think one of the key points is having an interest with having interest to someone. You being interested to be there, to want to know more from that person. So that's some good point. Good pointers. Joelle, would you like to say anything, or would you like to just put it on the chat? What do you think, or how do you feel, or what are your thoughts on how to ask great questions for better conversations? What do you feel? You can write it on the chat if you don't want to say it, Joel. Yeah. Any other ideas what you may think, I think, okay, no worries. I think the other way we could do this as well, how to ask great questions for better conversation. I think one of the ways is we keep on asking, how is everybody, right? How's everybody's week? How is, for example, I say, oh, Grace, last week you had work. How's your work today? Like, how's work been over last week? I think it's about following up with the questions that you follow up on the questions. Like last week you asked, how are they? And then this week you follow up on that situation. The previous week where you asked them, oh, last week, you said you are doing fine. So how's things going on today? Last week you mentioned that perhaps you were going through a job, you're running a project, and next few weeks we've got an assignment to do. We've got this report to follow up. And so this week I asked, how's the report coming up? And I think to follow up, with the questions of the previous week, I think that's one way also of getting better conversation between the first person and the other person, and then the other thing we could also do to have to ask great questions, right, for better conversations is one second, is also to, I think firstly we mentioned was to genuine interest, ask more questions, I think, and then follow up with the questions. And I think the key factor, the last factor that we also need to learn to ask great questions, we need to listen as well. So I'm going to show you all a bit of some pointers here of what I thought it's great, and what your share is really relevant to what we're going to go through today. So I think is really what Wendy you just mentioned, having genuine interest. So I think the first point, how to ask great questions for better conversation, is in order to be interesting, we need to be interested, right? And so we need to be interested in other people. We always have to be prepared to be amazed, go out, talk, and listen, right? And I think it is through this then only we can have great conversations with other people as well, and then we can build up a communication, build up a follow up with the other person, so that the flow is smooth and you don't find yourself in how would I say, a tough situation where you don't know what to say to somebody, it'll be like, awkward moment, and things don't go the way it is. Okay, welcome, Ben. If you have any comments, I think our question we asked is how to ask great questions for better conversations, right? And we just pointed out a couple of things. If you have anything to share, just feel free to write it in the chat, and I'll share it. So yeah, let's leave your thoughts, and perhaps I'll share it later on. Just leave your comment. Yeah. Right. So they say, right, there's a saying that conversational competence might be the single most overlooked skill we fail to teach. And why so? Right. So the reason being said is that we're losing the balance between talking and listening is because of technology. Now, conversations require a balance between talking and listening, and we are losing that because due to technology, right? And I think we all know that when we all go out dinner, we go to a restaurant, the first thing when food arrives, what do? It's not let's eat, it's phone eats first, right? Not we all say, oh, let's eat, right? But the phone comes out immediately, and then we start taking photos of the food, and then we start posting. We don't communicate with the other person because we all just say, oh, let me post this first. And let's be honest, we're all guilty of that, right? But I think the only thing we can do is to have a balance to between talking and listening. And the only way we can do that is restrict ourselves from especially when we go out for dinner, put your phone aside. And I think I've shared with some of you this face to face some time ago. But if not, this is for the viewers who are watching, who are going to watch this video. I did mention that some top tips if you want to, when you're in a restaurant and you want to be genuinely interested in the other person, put your phone in your pocket, because when you put your phone on the table, it means people will already can identify that you're not interested, because you're going to already pick up your phone. And some say maybe, oh, put your phone on the table, but put it reverse, the screen facing down. Now, that's also another way. However, that still shows that the phone is up there, and at some point you're going to take the phone and you're going to turn it around and beat. So that's still not showing interest. That's still not showing genuine interest, like, oh, the guy is not going to focus on me because he's definitely going to look at the phone. And so some top tips: put your phone in your pocket when you're having dinner with your friends or whatever. If you're really wanting to have a great conversation or really important conversation that is really urgent, put your phone aside. Worst to worst, put your phone facing downwards the screen. But I do encourage, put your phone aside up somewhere that's not on the table. So yeah, so conversation requires a balance between talking and listening. Unfortunately, as we know, technology has a lot to do with this, why we are not having great conversations anymore. And perhaps another example is we are so used, for example, to chatting to somebody on WhatsApp. Then when we meet the person face to face, it's kind of struggle, because like, hey, I'm so used to talking to you guys on WhatsApp, but when I come face to face, you kind of struggle with your words. So technology somehow also prevents us from having human interaction, and prevents us, it gets us dwelled into how we communicate. So as you can see, what I just mentioned, conversation requires a balance between talking and listening. So talking and listening, balance is, as you can see, the 8 there, right? It's the balance of talking and listening. Now we're going to watch a little video. It's called 10 Ways to Have a Better Conversation by Celeste, Headlee. It's really good. So for those who are tuning in this video, I'll put the video link on YouTube. I'll put the video link right below on the description, so you can click it and have a look at the video. But for right now, we're gonna watch the video by Celeste, Headlee. Okay, I think that was something. I think that's something really, really funny, and I think it's really good pointers that she spoke. So right now, we're going to go into our second video. It's How to Speak So That People Want to Listen by Julian Treasure. So we will again, for those who are going to tune in for our session, we're going to our second video, and so I'll put the link as well in the description box below. So here we go. Okay, so basically that was entire video of it, of the two videos that we've went through. So for those going to watch this, the link is below. If you're going out, just to keep it short, to go out and speak before you go out and speak or go on stage to speak or give a talk. Julian Treasure has given some tips on how we can warm up our voice and be confident going out on stage. Now, those of you tuning in and now watching, and you must be asking, Jesse, did you do that before you started this session? Actually, maybe one or two, which was the that kind of thing. But yeah, kind of had to do that. It does help generally because it builds your confidence, but time and time again you kind of sort of feel a bit of nervousness lah. So it's quite common. So with that said, I'm just going to go through a few of the slides. Y'all can look through this, through the slides that I will send to you guys. And for those who want the slide of this slide on that's being shown here, just leave your comment below, and I'll read it and I'll be in touch with you to send you the slides. But for those of you tuning in tonight, I'll send you all the slides on our group chat. But here is just a sum up of the two speakers of what they just spoke earlier in the video. So here's this page where we are is a sum of what Julian Treasure was talking about in his video, right? And so here are what he called the 7 deadly sins of speaking. So you can see gossip, judging, negativity, complaining, excuses, exaggeration, and dogmatism. So if you don't know what dogmatism is, for those also tuning in, that's the point, the confusion of facts and opinions, people who bombard others with their opinions. You can just read that through. But all the points are basically in the slides, and y'all can just have a look at this. So I think I'll just skim through this for all of y'all because they've mentioned all this in the video. But for those tuning in, I'll just run through really quickly. Julian Treasure had also mentioned about coining the term called hail. So what is hail? So hail is obviously not the hail that the hail storm or whatever, but hail actually means honesty, authenticity, integrity, and love. And what honesty is we need to be clear and straight. Authenticity is being yourself. Integrity, you follow up on your word. And love is not that kind of romance love that Julian Treasure had mentioned in the video, but it's about you wish them all the best, right? So that's it for the session. I wonder if you guys have any reflections, any takeaway from this video. I know I wasn't supposed to come up with any question after that, but I just thought if anybody have any reflections or any takeaways that all of us can learn, you can put it on your chat or you can mention it right here so that all of us can get to learn from one another. So I'll just get the ball rolling. I think for me, the toolbox, right? What Julian Treasure mentioned was a way for me to get myself confident in stepping up and doing some presentation. So I sort of use this before I go out and present certain stuff. Time and time I do forget, so this video actually does remind me of doing a few things before I go out and do presentation. Now you must be asking, who do I do presentation? Of course, right now I'm doing some presentations to our clients for our project. So sometimes you need to show slideshows, you need to present your project. So that's the kind of stuff that I have to present. And with this, right, it kind of helped me be more confident. So yeah, that's my takeaway from the Julian Treasure video. So I wonder what you guys have or any any takeaway from the video. Put it on the chat, or you can just feel free to share it right here, right now. I'll give you about 5 minutes, but if you're ready, please go ahead and share.
Okay, Jesse.
Yeah.
Okay. The part where he was sharing about speak with clarity and all those stuff.
Yeah.
So for me to summarize it all, it's like saying that to speak with confidence. So so the word is confidence for me to sum up all those 4 points.
Okay. I'm gonna just break it down even more to that, Joel. See, I'm doing a follow-up question like how do we have better conversation, right? So what do you mean by having confidence? What is your takeaway from that, and how do you apply confidence? Because yes, you can have confidence, but in what way can you have confidence? Like what way? I mean, for one of the example, as I mentioned earlier, right, is to the toolbox. You have that toolbox, right? Julian Treasure had mentioned the toolbox. Perhaps you do your vocal warm up, like the lips and stuff. So what is your takeaway that you probably think you can use in having better conversations with people?
Okay, for me, confidence is like about you speak with a loud and clear voice. I mean, like you speak loud and clearly instead of like speaking like softly and then people can't hear what you say, that kind of thing. So that's the type of confidence I was talking about.
I guess what you're trying to say. Okay, so I guess what you're trying to say is being firm and clear, so that people would be aware and be they sort of know your expectations, what you're trying to relay to them, right? I guess that's what you're trying to say. I think. Sorry, you were saying?
Like not speaking too soft or that kind of thing.
So being firm and clear. Okay, I think, Wendy, you just mentioned a really good point, being willing to listen and to be open to what the other party is going to have to say. Many times people may ask questions but have a fixed set of answers that they are looking for already. That's really true, Wendy. Great takeaway. I think a lot of us, when we start talking with another person, we already have a fixed mindset of or we already have an answer how to deal with certain situation with some people, but sometimes that is not a great way to have better conversations or to continue building relationships with others. It's good. I think there's time and place to have fixed sets of answers, and that kind of fixed sets of answers is when you are clear about, I think, dealing with conflict. I think dealing with conflict, you need to have a fixed set or clarity of how you're going to deal with that situation. So when you, for fixed sets of answers, that will go into dealing with conflict. But to have better conversations with other people, we cannot have a fixed set of answers. We need to be, for example, I just, ask, okay, Wendy, how's things? How are you? And perhaps you just answer, I'm doing fine, but perhaps, some things can be a bit better, and I shouldn't go straight to like, oh, Wendy, what can be better? I can't, things already are like that. It's already like that, so it's already like that, so it can't be better. I think that's already like sort of, you shoot down a person when you are having a good conversation, but rather you should answer like this, like, oh, that's interesting, Wendy. What do you mean by things can be better? Care to share? And I think that is like more open-ended question, more being open-ended, being very open, just like Grace earlier had mentioned, being open. So that's a better way to answer people. But yes, there is time and place for us to have a fixed set of answers, and I think that applies towards dealing with conflicts. That's when you probably need to have your fixed sets of answers, because that's really important lah, when we need to make decisions. Yes, to focus more when we hear a firm and clear voice. I like how you mentioned there, and continuing on what you just mentioned, it's like how most times people look up to the male figure because they're able to speak boldly and authoritative. Generally, sure, but I guess there's more female. Thankfully, there's more females who are very outspoken. I think one of them is Michelle Obama, and she's really influential, right? But yeah, I guess that's some really good pointers from Wendy. So thank you for sharing. Anybody else would like to just add your points on the chat? I could just read it out, or you all want to share? Perhaps Grace or Ben.
I think for me, one of the takeaways from the first video was she mentioned like there were two things, like you go into a conversation. What was that word? Without, how to say? She was saying like, some people, they go into conversation and before the other person can even reply, they're already like thinking of the next question. And then there was the other thing of what was that? Okay, I suddenly lost it. Basically expecting. Oh yeah, okay, I remember. Okay, like when people share their experience, and then you may tend to reply and say, oh yeah, that happened to me too. I think I would admit like these two things I've been guilty of it for the longest time, and only in the past year I think that I've sort of realized that this is probably something that I might need to look into, and to actually consciously train and practice to not be like that. Because a lot of times actually when people share their experience, they are not really, they are sharing from their point of view, and sometimes if they don't ask you, that means they might not want to hear what you have to say sometimes. And they might be in a place where they just want someone to listen as well. So yeah, I think this is for me, those were the takeaways from the video.
Okay, I just put up a slide right here, and this was, I think, the 10 point that was shared by, that was shared by Celeste, Headlee. So I think if any one of you who needs this to reflect back, I think this is something you can look back. But yeah, thank you for sharing, Grace. Ben, anything you'd like to add into it? Yeah. Okay, Wendy, everyone you will meet knows something you don't. You don't have to be afraid if we are not aware or don't know about something. We get to learn something out of it. I guess, yeah, that's true. I like how you just pointed out there, Wendy, about everyone you meet knows something you don't. And so I think today, I was in a Grab car, and when you order Grab, you kind of just send a location to the person to pick you up, and you expect them to know the place, to know where they pick you up. But today I decided, I saw him on my phone screen. He was making a turn. I decided to go on the road to look out for his car, and when I saw the car, I waved, and he was very grateful, and he turned in and he said, wow, thank you very much for pointing, because actually I didn't know actually where to pick you up, actually, because I was trying to look for Soho KL, because on the pickup on the Grab it says Soho KL, but he doesn't know which one is Soho KL and Solaris. And what this actually taught me, or what I've learned today, and I think it's very applicable to what you just said, Wendy, on the chat. Everyone you ever meet knows something you don't. I think to add on to that is, don't assume don't assume you know everything. Don't assume everybody knows everything, because when we do that, we tend to just miss out from the point. And I think this applies to having conversation. Don't expect everybody to know everything, and don't assume that you know everything. And I think that's the best way to get conversation going as well. So yeah, I think that's some great points that you just mentioned as well. So yeah, I guess that's about that. We're just gonna wrap up right now. So thanks guys for coming in. Next week we're gonna do on a topic that is really interesting. I can't really recall what was that topic, but let me just pull it out. But I think it's going to be very, very, very interesting, because this is where you guys will do something really fun. I'm going to get you all to do some activities. It's actually going to be on a topic called how to keep momentum. So tune in next week. It's going to be pretty fun. You guys will be doing some activities through a link, which I'll get you all to do. And we may have a surprise in store for you guys next week.